I'm pretty sure that got caught on the stream, and and I've already titled it like Kids Diet.
Oh no. Oh god.
So
It's on the stream. It's not
Oh, my
live.
God.
No one heard it.
yeah,
Nobody
No
heard
one
nothing.
Heard it.
anything.
Nobody heard anything.
There you go. Cool. Yeah, we're good to go.
We're going. We're live. We're on.
We're going.
Oh my God. What'd you grow up eating in Nsima?
Fufu and a goosey soup.
Where did all this start? What kind of soup?
For all the Nigerians that maybe listen understand that. But like yeah, at least at home, my mom, like, she was very health conscious. So I ate a lot of rice. I ate like a lot of carbs. And those carbs, like, it's just like that's what we ate as like Africans. Like there's this pounded yam called fufu. So it's like this flour that you put together. You have soup, and you just take it and you put it in the soup and you eat it. You eat it with your hand. And there's usually like a lot of goat meat and maybe beef and chicken in there, right?
You say pounded yam?
Yeah, there's pounded yam, and yeah, like that's the Oh,
So, like which
God,
one?
I'm hungry now. Fufu is the first one right there.
Dude, that sounds really good.
Yeah, like you just
Pounded yam.
you
So
take it with
Is it
your
pounded into like almost like a mushy
yeah, and it's
bread
sticky.
type of thing almost?
Yeah, and then you could tear some off. It's sticky, so you roll it up, you put it in the soup, you dip it in the soup, you put it in your mouth. And there'd be some days I'd eat fufu for breakfast. Some of my friends would make fun of me. They'd be like, "Nsima eats fufu for breakfast," but like that was like my breakfast on some days.
And then what was the soup? Like what kind of, is it like a broth or something?
Yeah, no, like my mom would make thicker soup, but she'd put a lot of greens in it because I mentioned like she's health conscious. A lot of this food inherently is not healthy, but my mom liked to like make African food in a healthier way. So she would put like a lot of greens, like cassava leaves, spinach, a bunch of different type of greens together. It tastes really good with a bunch of meat. And I'd eat that. I'd eat rice and stew, and there'd be like a lot of like meat and stuff in the stew with some veggies. And
Damn, I want some of that. It looks good.
it actually is really good.
It looks real filling too, like
oh.
satisfying.
Yeah, it is really filling. It is really satisfying. Even like, and this is off it, but my mom, like, she learned how to use oatmeal instead, and she created, because literally no one else did this, and a lot of people have started doing it now. She made oatmeal fufu. So like she'd blend oatmeal and then use it as the base, and then like she'd make it so that you could use it and take the oatmeal like fufu and put it in soup and eat it. Anyway,
Bodybuilders probably love that.
they would love it.
Yeah.
I grew up eating a lot of like really high carb, a decent amount of protein food, but outside of the house when I'd go to school or other places, I would get my sweet fill. I would get all my sweets and everything that I really wanted. So
You go over certain people's houses too, right? When you're a kid and they have all the cereal and everything else.
yeah,
right?
yeah, or like or cookies or anything like that. I'd get that at other places. I would be able to have some cereal at home, but it's usually like Raisin Bran. If I was lucky, I'd get some Frosted Flakes, but it's usually Raisin Bran.
Yeah, Raisin Bran's pretty good.
The normal one. When I got Raisin Bran Crunch when I got older, Raisin Bran Crunch is the one with all the sugar. It has like it's really, really good, and that's what I would go crazy on.
Nice.
When I was a kid, my my dad was moving up the corporate ladder in IBM, and so, I think like, and then also maybe just like the household he grew up in with 8 siblings. My grandfather did well, but with 8 kids, it's like how well can you really do? And so I think my dad and my mom were probably, and especially my mom grew up poor or poor-ish for a while, and then she also had 8 brothers and sisters, like a ton of family members, and so I think because of that, my parents were trying to like overcompensate and make sure that their children had like everything and then some. And so as a kid, like I had everything at my disposal, especially like I remember like as I became, more like a teenager or between the ages of like 11 and like 15 or so, I just remember like there was like cookies in the pantry. There was cereal. We had ice cream my mom and dad were always trying to diet. They were always trying to do something. And so I was aware of like diet, but that was like for them. That was like an adult thing for them to do. And they would do like mess around with like Weight Watchers or like Slim Fast where you know, have like 2 drinks a day and then you eat at dinner and stuff. So I wasn't really aware of like nutrition. I didn't really know much until later when I got more and more into like lifting. I got into lifting at around 12, and then probably about like 14, 15 is when I started to explore a little bit more about nutrition and learn about like protein and that kind of stuff. But yeah, a lot of crap, a lot of junk food. I remember going over to my friend's house after school almost every single day, and he and I would just polish off a bag of Doritos, like every single day. It was just normal. We'd just sit there and like watch cartoons and just kind of hang out, and and then like I'd walk home to my house and then just hang out, and I'd sit there and eat cookies and like play Nintendo or whatever.
Keep the party going.
Yeah, keep the party going. And there was like I don't really remember my and I'm sure they did at some point, but like I don't really remember my parents telling me to like, you know, put something back or like, hey, like who ate all the cookies, or like there was no restrictions or rules or really anything on any of that stuff. So it was just there all the time.
It was a free for all.
Free for all.
Yeah. I ate horribly when I was a kid.
Oh God.
It was terrible. So both parents worked. So it was just, you know, walk to school, walk home from school, and what was available, frozen burritos, frozen corn dogs, and that was pretty much it. Like that's all I ate. Now,
frozen foods.
Yeah, dinner time, you know, Mexican food was great, but I think, yeah, after learning more, like what Mark said on the previous podcast, like eat some Doritos and then try to eat a steak. So it's like I just got done eating, like, I don't know, say something like Easy Mac. It's like, yeah, I don't want tacos now. You know, even though they're made with like asada and they're really good, they're very well prepared, I just wasn't into it. When I was way younger, it was just a lot of like beans and rice. You know, when I was in, I think either kindergarten or first grade, I would take just like toast, refried beans, and that was it. That's all I ate for lunch. And I would have still been eating that, but once I got into like second grade, people made fun of me for eating beans because everyone's like, "Oh, you're just gonna keep farting all day long." And then so like I got all upset, and I'm like, "Mom, I don't want bean sandwiches anymore."
Yeah.
But like that's all I ate. It was like, so I don't know how much protein is in beans, but like it was not a lot.
Yeah.
You know, it was all carbs. And yeah, when I got home, it was just always just frozen everything, and that's probably what jacked me all up.
Yeah. How about like, how do you guys feel about physical activity? What did that make a difference for you? Because okay, you weren't eating the greatest, but do you feel that the lifting and all that stuff you did kind of counteracted what was going on?
Oh yeah, I moved around a lot. I did like every sport. I did like track and football, and I did all kinds of stuff. So I was never really without, and basketball, I was never really without like movement. And then at one point I was kind of getting fat. I was gaining some weight, and my coach for track, she said, you know, no one's going to come out for this track team and just throw the shot put. And that was me. I was like, that was my plan. I was like, I'm just going to throw the shot put. I'm not doing any of the running stuff, you know? And she's like, everyone's going to run. So they made us run, and I weighed like 230 or 220, and it got down to like 190, you know, just from running. No effort at all. No real difference in nutrition. Just that was a big change. The other thing I forgot to mention too is my mom cooked like every meal. My mom cooked every dinner for us. And I do think obviously like a home cooked meal could be just as like, you know, over the top in terms of calories as anything else. But I do think there's a difference between, you know, getting home cooked meals as opposed to just, you know, eating pizza all the time. You know, we had like spaghetti and meatballs, and my mom had kind of like different things she would do on different days. We had like chili, and we ate like bread and, you know, pastas and butter and shit like that. But at least it was home cooked. And at least, I guess my point is, with a lot of times a home cooked meal, at least there's some sort of thought process going behind like protein. There's always some sort of protein. It's like you have chicken in this, or you have steak in that, or you have meatballs and you know, pasta or whatever it is. But at least there's like part of the main ingredient of the whole thing is there's always going to be some sort of protein associated with everything. So at least we had that. But for me, yeah, I was exercising a lot, and without that though, without the exercise, I would have been a fat fuck.
Yeah. Did you get a lot?
Wait, what was that?
Did you get like sports or anything?
Yeah,
like that?
sports was huge in the house in the household. Every day, like we're watching. Like it's funny. Like people always tell me, like, "Oh, do you remember like this Nickelodeon movie or TV show or whatever?" Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, dude, since like third grade, I've been watching nothing but sports, and like that's it. Like we didn't have cartoons. Like that was it.
Yeah.
And so like I played basketball all the time, played baseball, soccer, played all the sports when I was younger. And then as I got older, we just like rode bikes everywhere. Like we weren't really in the house much often. And a Mexican family, so I didn't have that many friends, but I had tons of cousins. And we would always be like playing football in the street or, like I said, riding bikes. And then it wasn't until like junior high when I like officially stopped playing like actual sports.
Yeah.
Like that's just like I've said on the podcast before, that's when like all the kids got way bigger and stronger than me, and it pushed me the opposite way instead of trying to like push me to like work hard or work out hard. So I was always moving, but because of my body type, it wouldn't have mattered. I'm pretty sure I would have stayed skinny. Like, I mean, I ate like crap, like we didn't drink soda. I don't know why. I just wasn't drawn to sweet stuff, but yeah, like I would try to get pizza like every night. And if it wasn't that, it was frozen pizza. Like cereal for breakfast every day. Like it was all really, really bad. Like all carbs. Like
I think
zero
a lot
protein.
of people have kids that are like in that spot, and it seems like the kids are not even open to eating anything else. But you have to try. I still think as a parent, and it's hard. It's a hard thing. It's like this constant, but it's like your job as a parent to kind of be a pain in the ass. And it's hard, but you do have to insert yourself in some situations, because especially today, because kids aren't playing sports the way that they used to.
Yeah.
I played a lot of football and stuff like that. And like, because you're excited about football and everybody else plays football, then you all get together and you play football in the street, or you play basketball in the street, or baseball, or whatever sport it is. But because people barely even watch those sports, people don't really watch in sports as much anymore. And I think it's just, we're just in a different world, that there's so many other distractions away from any reason why, like the Dorito versus the steak comparison I always make, right? Well, what about, messing around on your phone versus going out in the street? Like, leave me alone. I'm going to mess around on my phone, because like, I have access to everyone in the world right now. I have access to everything in the world. I can play whatever game or communicate in whatever way I want. I can be in a fantasy world where it doesn't matter if I'm strong, I'm weak, I'm fast, I'm slow. I'm in this world and I can rule it because I know how to play this game. It doesn't matter if I know how to kick a spinner in kickball, and it doesn't matter, right? Your status, your strength and your prowess, your physical prowess doesn't matter, right? Now you have, the strength is in your fingertips, I guess. And so it's just different, and you got all these distractions. As a parent, though, it's important that you try to figure out a way to, have some sort of nutritional discipline into what your kids are doing. It doesn't mean that they're eating chicken and broccoli, but it just means that as often as you can, whenever you can, you're trying to slip in something that is just a better option than maybe what they want to choose.
I think what you said earlier was like mixing stuff.
Yeah.
So like somebody just mentioned that their kids, like they'll struggle to eat proteins, but if they make them Monster Mash, like they'll tear it up. And that's basically what I have to do with Jasmine now too. I think kind of like not hiding it, but just making it more than just here's your steak, here's your chicken, have fun. It's like, no, here's some noodles and go ahead and put the Alfredo sauce on it too. So at least you're getting it in.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, because when I think back to when I was a kid, if you did give me like a full-on steak or something, I would not want to eat that. Like you gave me a ribeye, I wouldn't want to eat a ribeye.
Yeah, and we talked about it before. Kids, they don't want to have like sunny side up eggs, or like over easy eggs. Kids are like, that's disgusting. They want them scrambled, right? Or they want cheese. So you have to be reasonable with your kids and try to come up with something that maybe they like. Maybe they want to maybe they don't really like eggs, but maybe they like French toast. It's like, well, French toast, they're still getting some protein from the egg, or you make them a breakfast sandwich or something like that in the morning. I've done a lot of things like that for my kids. I still cook for my kids here and there, and as they start school again, I'll start cooking for them again, and I try to cook them, some sort of eggs and bacon almost every morning. And every once in a while, they're like, "Oh, eggs and bacon again." I'm like, "All right, well, let's switch it up." I'll have like French toast. I tried a bunch of different things, and they didn't like most of them. So we tried to keep it, to things that they enjoy, because otherwise, like, what's the point,
Yeah, that is crazy. I did have a lot of eggs for breakfast growing up. My mom would like scramble some eggs with some plantain, so it was like a big old protein and some carbs. Yeah, wow, that was good stuff.
Eggs cook up easy, like there's really not a lot of excuses on why you can't cook up a couple eggs. I mean, it takes like 4 minutes basically, if you're going to scramble them, I mean, you just whip them up and throw them in the pan and you're good to go. Like, it doesn't take very long to do it.
Yeah,
definitely over medium is the way to go, though. Just putting that out there.
I like some side up now as an adult. But do you like, because I've heard this, and I've heard this more than once, which is like something that is very interesting to me. When like an adult individual comes to have wanted to work with me, ask them if they have snacks in the house. They're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, let's get rid of those. Like, but the kid, like they have it, they're like, oh, the Doritos, but the kid likes it. And I'm just like, well, maybe we should get it out of the house because for everybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So how do you feel about like people having, snacks in their home for their children, even if it's healthy snacks for their kids? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it would be great to remove all snacks from everybody. But I think, I think that is probably important to have some things around for your kids, especially like, they don't really know how to prepare some stuff for themselves. Now, maybe that's another topic too, right? Maybe they should know how to prepare a couple things themselves. Like a kid should know how to like make a sandwich or make a PB&J. Like, I think most of us would agree that like peanut butter and jelly sandwich is not really that harmful. It's like if a kid eats a peanut butter and jelly sandwich every day, I ain't got a problem with it, right?
Yeah, that was good stuff.
Yeah, it's great. It tastes good. Kids are used to it. They like it. But I mean, it's still not the healthiest option. But when it comes to snacks, I think kids are just so used to snacks. Now, the problem with snacks is that the kid will eat something that's really flavorful. And then now they have dinner, which is like, probably some sort of meat-based something or other that doesn't have that same snap or that same pop as the maybe Rice Krispie treat or something that they ate, right? And so I think we got to be strategic with even the snacks that we pick. And I think when I think of snacks that might be a little bit more acceptable, might be a little bit better when I'm thinking about like, something that's, dry or like a chip or something, I'm thinking like a pretzel might be a little bit better of an option than a regular potato chip. Now, the kid's obviously going to like the potato chips more, but maybe there's a type of pretzels that you can find that tastes a little bit better that they would enjoy. And again, hopefully, the point of these snacks and stuff is also this. Hopefully they don't love it so much that they want to eat tons and tons of it. Hopefully they only like it enough for it to actually be a snack.
Yeah.
Like that should be the goal. But a lot of the things they're putting in these 100-calorie bags, you would think that that's convenient, but go and look in my pantry, especially when my nieces and nephews have been over, and I don't know what the deal is with why the wrapper can't end up in the garbage, but the wrapper ends up somehow just staying in the pantry. I think they like rip them open. They're so excited and they dump them into like a bowl and then they take off with them. Yeah. And so there's wrappers always like, in my closet. So those don't, give you the great option that you think. However, if you're sending your kid off to school with that, maybe that is not a bad option because you are guaranteed to like, okay, that's a 100-calorie thing. And then they have their sandwich and they have this and that and they got their milk and they're good to go.
My mom learned real quick to hide the snacks, even the healthy snacks, because if she kept it in like a pantry or somewhere where I could get to it, man, I would take like 6, 7, I'd just run with it. I'd eat it all and she'd be like, why did these run out so fast? I don't know.
Like, it wasn't me.
It wasn't me.
Mouthful.
Yeah, and you want to try to think about things that your kids might still like that a lot of snacks are just like dead processed food, right? It's just junk. It's some form of like wheat and sugar or some sort of wheat and like salty type shit on there, right? And it's not really of any nutritional value. It's not really going to push anybody forward. It's not going to help anybody with growth. It might be something that makes them happy for 10 seconds while they're watching TV. But it doesn't really do anything for them. So you might want to try to think about what are some nutrients I can get my kid that would be beneficial that the kid still might enjoy? Then you might think, okay, well, how about some like yogurt? Like yogurt can be a pretty good option. Then you have to start to kind of like weigh your options on, how many calories is yogurt going to have? How much sugar is it going to have? But I think, look, a kid eating some yogurt, a kid eating some, like my son likes cottage cheese a lot. Not everybody likes cottage cheese. He digs it. So I'm like, fucking great. We'll buy cottage cheese all the time. Quinn likes yogurt. So we buy yogurt all the time. We even buy just the regular Yoplait yogurt that has sugar in it. I'm not really obsessed with, I'm not excited about it having that much sugar in it, but it doesn't really have a lot of calories.
Yeah.
And I'd rather have her have that than to eat like a bunch of potato chips, right? So I'm trying to find out, okay, this isn't necessarily mesh well with like what I have in my mind for nutrition, but it's better than what she would otherwise do. So you have any sort of dairy can really be beneficial, even milk. Milk can be great. And then also you have cheese sticks. Cheese sticks are like a godsend for kids. You see kids running around with cheese sticks all the time. And that's probably where most American kids get protein from, is from that and maybe hot dogs.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Do you think it's so you're saying it's like almost like making like a compromise? Do you think that's like pretty good advice for people to start? Like, you're saying like, yeah, I don't want them to have the sugar-filled Yoplait, but
that's a great place for anyone to start, anyone, adult or otherwise. So, if you're going to go to a restaurant, like think about when you go to a restaurant, a lot of times you go and you're like, I'm not sure if I want to get this, this, or this. Usually like there's 2 or 3 things that catch your eye. Pick the one thing that you feel is the best option out of those 3. Maybe one thing is ribs. Maybe another thing is, a bacon cheeseburger with fries. And maybe the last thing is a steak and a baked potato. But you got your eye kind of on all 3 already. So it's like, well, go with the steak and baked potato. And even the bacon cheeseburger probably is still a better option than the ribs, right? So it's like, just try your damn best that you can. And, maybe you don't add a soda to that. Maybe you just have, water or diet drink or something like that.
Yeah, and I'd say try not to even order for your kids off of the kids menu.
Right.
I've said it before, like a handful of times, but like Spaghetti Factory, we love going there. And if you look at the kids menu, there's no protein on any single item that they offer. It is pasta and some kind of marinara or some sort of sauce, and that's it.
Do you think that's what businesses do to save some money? They're like, let's not give these kids no meat. They don't need it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, but that makes some sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Jasmine's not allowed to order off of a kid's menu anymore.
That's smart.
I think, the second you sit down, too, they serve you bread. It's like the second you sit down, and I've had to tell them before, like don't bring bread. I've had to tell them, like, can you maybe, like, wait till we put in our order, and that way you bring, like, one thing of bread. That way it's not, because my kids, like, the bread will be gone. Yeah. The bread will be gone, and I don't blame them. Bread's fucking delicious. I love bread. I don't really want them, and I don't even think that bread is bad. But I don't want them filling up on bread, not being able to complete the entree that they got, which hopefully is a decent option in terms of nutrition. And then what do they want after they eat? Can we get dessert? It's like, you just ate bread and butter. Now you want fucking dessert? Like, no, you can't have dessert. Like, you made a bad choice already. You're done. You're done with your bad choices.
Yeah.
How do you feel about, well, first off, I think we should mention, how, like, we fast, right? I don't think kids necessarily fast, right?
They get hungry, though.
Yeah. It's just like,
I felt fasted as a kid. I remember, like, coming home from school feeling like I was starving. I remember that.
Yeah.
I think fasting for kids would be great, but I think people would think you're a lunatic.
You're right. That would be like people would be like, that's child abuse.
Yeah. I remember being in school, like, just starving, though, like, looking at the clock, like, waiting for lunchtime to come around. Right? I was more in junior high, but I just remember being like, this should be illegal how hungry I am right now. I
think if every kid just ate when they came home from school, then there would be no fat kids. Yeah. But I also think that, people would be outraged and think that that's the most crazy thing they've ever heard in their lives.
No, you're right. I think back to, like, even like my metabolism, though, as a kid or a teenager, I ate a lot of food, but, like, I was growing. Right. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder how like if one should even try to regulate that for a child that's growing and active, right? You just let them eat when they want to eat,
Right.
you know, but make sure they're eating healthy.
Yeah. Well, I think you go back to thinking about survival, and you're thinking about like people might think, oh, kids need carbs. And it's like, well, I mean, they probably didn't used to really have the access to eating carbohydrates all day long. And if they did eat carbs, I mean, I think we can all agree that, and it doesn't mean that we have to eat this way now, but I think that everyone can understand that we used to probably hunt our own food. I'm just imagining this is the way it all happened. I don't even really know. We'd hunt our own food. We'd get a certain amount of food. We would share it all, and we would eat it all until the food went like bad or until we ate it all. And then you would go a few days where there wasn't really much food.
Yeah.
You'd probably go through a lot of winters and stuff where, 3-4 days went by, and so everyone probably is probably accustomed to fasting. We probably all possess the ability to fast, whether we're 65 years old or whether we're 3. I don't, in today's age, I don't know if we, see it or have done it here, like in the United States. I don't really know if they've done any like fasting studies on kids or anything, or even if they would even allow anyone to even do them. But trying to get the kids, good nutrition and trying to keep them from avoiding just eating crappy food all day long. Like it doesn't have to be, there's certain things like at my house when we have parties and stuff, like if we have cookies and things, I'll watch the kids will pick off a bunch of cookies, and I'll kind of like, I'm not like a, at least I don't think I am. I'm not like a hawk about it, but I'm like, all right, every kid had a couple cookies. I'm like, I'm hiding these, I'm gonna put these away. Like it's just everyone had enough, and the kids are always like, "Where'd the cookies go?" I'm like, they're gone for now. They're like, "Oh man," but they let up and they go back out and they play.
Yeah,
they're over it. But I do think that someone should be trying to police a little bit of what they're eating. I think, kids that are growing, obviously, like we need probably more nutrients than a kid that's already grown, but how much more? It's probably not, some crazy amount. We probably don't necessarily need 75 grams of sugar from a Gatorade or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And Jasmine loves protein powder. How do you feel about kids just having straight protein shakes?
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Yeah.
I think that's fine. Anything that they're excited about that, remotely resembles protein, I think is a good option. I think parents need to be really cautious of, fake health, and need to be cautious of thinking that Gatorade is somehow better than something else, and any juices and all this stuff, like it's not awful to drink those things. It just doesn't really make a lot of sense to have that on top of having a lot of other sugar throughout the day. It's like, oh, you had 30 grams of sugar from apple juice, and now you're having a Gatorade, and now and then you had a soda. It's like, man, this shit is really adding up fast. And I think there's actually nothing wrong with explaining to your kids, especially when you're younger, that this could make you fat. This could lead to you being unhealthy. Kids know when people are fat. Kids are crazy. Kids are crazy.
Yeah.
Kids are nuts with how blunt and honest they are. I remember one of the guys from here dropped me off at home one time, and then like he forgot something. He came inside the house, he forgot something, and he like rang the doorbell. And Quinn is like 4. And she goes, "Dad, it's one of your fat friends."
Oh,
dude,
It was Matt Nickerson. But kids recognize, like, they're like, whatever that is that person has going on, they look a lot different than everybody else, and I don't want to look like that. So I don't think there's anything wrong with saying you don't really want to end up, being fat. Like I think it's totally fine. Why not share that with them? And then like with my kids, as they've gotten older, I don't talk about it anymore because they're teenagers. It's inappropriate for me to like, bash them about like their bodies or anything like that. I don't want a weird body image. But when they were young, I definitely told them. Point was taken. The point's across, and they can kind of do whatever they want with it now.
Yeah, no, I do think that's necessary. Like, and it has to be done in a smart way, because I do know a lot of people who have they have those kind of body image issues right now because they're like, maybe their mom was trying to make sure that they didn't get fat when they were a kid,
right.
and then they think all these things. So it needs to be done, but it needs to be done in a way that's not going to mess them up when they become adults.
I think our guest yesterday was talking about that. She said her mom, her mom said, you're gonna have fat thighs like me or something, or
Mhm.
you're gonna have fat legs if you eat too much. And she was like 14, and that's not a great time to try to have like a nutritional intervention with a kid,
Yeah.
Yeah. What about parents who are freaked out to, in regards to like fake health or whatever? They're trying to be overly conscious and they don't want to give the kids something with like sucralose or like,
Oh yeah.
because like you see that like, oh no, don't give my child that sucralose filled thing. Here, have some grape juice instead. Like,
Right.
well, you're still not doing the right thing by giving them that and then Gatorade and
Right.
crackers and stuff later on.
Yeah, I think if you can have your kid, drinking a Gatorade Zero, then I think that's great.
Yeah.
I think that's good. Obviously, I think there's a moderation to a lot of this stuff too. Dosage is really a key ingredient in this whole thing. What if your kid likes to have a soda, just a regular Coke, every time they go to the movie theater? Well, that's probably okay. You go to the movie theater twice a month and they have a soda, probably not a huge deal. And then just how big is the soda though? Like,
Mhm.
are they getting like like, I remember when my kids were young, if they wanted to get something like that was sweet, first of all, I'd always have them get Coke Zero. And then every once in a while, they still wanted a regular Coke. So I was like, all right, you got to get small Coke. And I would also get them water. So I'm like, when you're done drinking your Coke, then you at least have some water. And that would work. But at least the calories are chopped way down. We're not trying to drink this giant bucket of soda.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a crazy amount of soda to drink at one time.
You know what I wonder, or I guess it's not that odd, but you never really taught financial advice in school, like you got to pay taxes and stuff like that. But you're really not also taught about like nutrition in general. Like
Yeah.
that's your parents' job. You know,
Right.
that's your parents' job. But it's actually super important because I was actually curious, Andrew, do you I'm guessing you tell Jasmine why you have her make certain choices or why you're feeding her things sometimes so she knows? Or not really? How old? I don't even know how old she is.
She just turned 11.
Okay.
Yeah, so she's so smart. I think she figured out a lot of it on her own. But the main thing has been just like, putting in her head like if you're gonna eat something, make sure you have some source of protein.
Okay. Yeah.
We haven't really explained like, hey, if you have just like the bread and the butter, like you're gonna get fat, or
Mhm.
we haven't quite done that.
Yeah.
But we're just trying to like really just make her more educated on everything. Like she can tell you what's gluten free. She can tell you what's low carb.
Yeah.
And she can tell you out of all the food like which one's the protein. Obviously that's pretty easy, but she's very knowledgeable when it comes to looking at like a dinner plate and understanding what's what and whether or not like, oh, can mom have this? Because she has a gluten intolerance and she can look at it and be like, no, mom can't have that.
Yeah.
But Andrew can, and Andrew's trying to gain weight, so he needs double that.
Yeah, because I remember like when I was working out, I started like lifting when I was 13, and I asked my mom to go get me protein shakes because like that's what people that lifted drink, right? If I knew how bad excessive amounts of sugar were for me, I know that as a kid that I'd be kind of careful about how much sugar I had even outside. But no one really talked to me about that. I just knew sugar's bad, or like it's not even that it's bad. It's just you shouldn't have it. Not that it's bad. You shouldn't have that.
Yeah, they weren't ever telling you any sort of reason why.
Any sort of reason why it's bad for me. So I feel like if kids just understood why maybe this is not so good or this is not so good, they can then start to self-regulate some things over time,
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and that's probably a conversation we got to have.
I think they teach you some of it in school, but not a whole lot. And I think that in order for it to really probably be taught in school, you would have to and this would probably not be very easy, but you'd have to probably bring the parents in on it too, because it's like the child's only like a small part of it. The child's just eating like whatever mom and dad is cooking. When I was a football coach, that was something I had to do. I gave all the kids, a nutrition plan, gave them some ideas and stuff, and I said it would really help if you guys could get your parents here. So maybe like next Friday, when your parents come to pick you up, I said I'd love the opportunity to talk to them for a while, and we'll talk about this nutrition, because a lot of the kids, they took what they had on their paper and they took it home, and a lot of kids took it really serious and they're like, hey, this is what I need to eat. And then some of the parents were worried about the excess protein and they didn't know, and then the kids wanted like supplements, which is nothing. I didn't tell them to get supplements, but that's what high school football kids do. They think they need supplements. But anyway, the parents came in. It was great. we had a great conversation, and they asked a lot of questions about supplements, and I got to talk directly in front of the parents and the kids at the same time, and they told me the different challenges that they had. And the main thing for these guys was just to keep them eating, but to keep them eating things that are healthy, or at least somewhat healthy, healthier options than maybe what they would normally pick.
How about fruit? Do you think it's okay to just tell kids to kind of go crazy on fruit?
Yeah, fruit's great.
Mm-hmm.
Fruit's awesome. I mean, it's something you can take with you, right? It's like portable, like especially like an apple or I mean, all of it's kind of portable, but an apple or like a banana, you could just kind of throw it in your backpack.
Yeah.
And you ain't got to worry about it. I mean, you can't like throw grapes in your backpack; they'll end up everywhere, right? But like you can just throw some of that stuff in your backpack and carry it wherever. I like that a lot for adults as well. Somebody is having a craving and they're really hungry and they got a sweet tooth. It's like eat an apple. And then if you eat an apple and you still have a craving, it's like eat an orange.
Mm-hmm.
You eat an orange, you still have a craving, eat a fucking banana. Like it's okay. It's okay to eat some of that stuff. And I think that, there's a lot of studies, a lot of stuff that Stan showed, when people are eating almost like 20 pieces of fruit a day, they were not only not gaining body fat, but they were continuing to lose weight, and they weren't really 100% sure why. They think something, possibly with the fiber was helping people poop more, maybe. I don't know. But, I never think that fruit is really a problem. You want to look out for, maybe too much fruit juice, especially when the kid's really young and, just getting, just developing. But I think milk is a good option. A lot of kids dig milk. A lot of kids like milk. And now you have options too. You got like Fairlife, you have different types of milk, and maybe once in a while you get them the chocolate milk, because Fairlife has, I think the Fairlife chocolate milk, it does have some sugar in it, but it's not nearly as bad as some of the other chocolate milks that have been around for a while. So anyway, there's a lot of options with your kids. There's a lot of different things you can do. I know for myself, it was kind of good that I was kind of fat because I had to learn a lot of stuff on my own. I had to figure out a lot of stuff on my own, and I think there was some benefit to that. But it would have been nice if I would have known the information, then I could have maybe done something with it earlier.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I was probably maybe like 16 or so to where I started going, oh, okay, now I'm starting to understand this more, and there's always better options. I remember, when I was in high school, I even back then I was messing around with like a keto diet, and so I would just get like hamburger patties, and I would just eat like 4 of them, and everyone's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, I'm not really sure, but I think I'm doing like a low carb diet. They're like, "Why?" And I'm like, I don't know. I'm trying to lose weight.
I did that in high school, dude. I remember like something like in junior year of high school. The reason I remember is because I remember my friend asking me, "Why are you so dizzy, Nsima?" And I cut out carbs. Like that was when I was cutting out carbs. I'm like, oh, I'm just trying to get a little shredded, man. I heard that you got to cut carbs. And I was eating like no carbs. And I was feeling super tired and super dizzy. And like one of my homies was like, "You sure that's good for you, dude?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, I'm pretty sure this is how you get shredded."
You're like, I feel awesome.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. I did that too.
Like how the memory just slapped you right now in the face.
Yeah.
Just like, oh my gosh.
Shit. It's
Yeah, that
crazy.
happens. I ate a lot of top ramen in high school. I thought I was cooking food.
I ate some of that too.
Yeah,
Some noodles.
just some straight
Yeah.
up noodles.
Yeah. I'm sorry if I cut
No, no.
through your thought. I just remembered that. And I was like, God, I really messed myself up over there.
When I was a kid, and I don't know why we had this, but I think it was just like a popular thing at the time. We had a sandwich maker.
Like a panini press.
Yeah, it kind of looked like a Foreman grill,
Okay. Yeah.
but like everybody had them. Like
We had them.
Yeah. everybody had these damn things, and I would always make these like crazy collaborations of sandwiches, and they would never work, and they would never really taste very good. But like I was dead set on like one day like making the perfect, melted sandwich, and it never worked.
Yeah, I
Always
would do
sucked.
a lot of like grilled cheese and like
Grilled cheese works pretty good every time.
but like a hot ham and cheese. Like
Yeah.
that's what I would make. in
That's
that
what I
thing.
was trying to do all the
Mhm.
time, and it always tasted like shit.
And it was like I believe it was the same one you can make like omelets with it too,
Yeah,
right?
right, yeah.
And
That
so I'd always
sounds so
combine
good.
just like way too much cheese.
Kind of looks like a Foreman griller.
Yeah.
with like grooves though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
I think I
Yeah.
always like kind of burnt my shit. I always
Always.
it just got all I don't know. By the time the cheese melted in the middle, the outside was already like in fuego.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever use a Foreman grill?
No, we never used a Foreman grill.
No, I
just
haven't.
the oven.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
Yeah,
how
I
I,
really miss-
that's
I
how I
mess with
fed
Foreman.
myself in my early 20s. Was just cooking on that like exclusively.
Thing's great. Foreman griller is kind of great.
You just make your house smell weird though.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, cooking up a lot of meat makes your house stink in general.
And
Especially with my crock pot meat. My house smells like meat all the time now.
You know what though? Like I was thinking about this when you were mentioning like young kids and like sugar. Remember Kyle Kingsbury when he came here and you talked about how like I don't know, Bear, whenever he has like actual sugar, like sugary stuff, he's like, ew, that's nasty. When I remember that, like that's so, and this isn't knocking anybody who has kids that are a little bit older, but that kind of should be how it should be.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because like that stuff isn't necessarily normal, and if you're brought up on it, you're gonna really, really want it. Like I do when I have. But if your kid's young enough, you can like you can help them to build a normal palate so that even when they do have these things when they're older and you're not watching them or whatever, they don't necessarily even really want it that much because it's just too much for them, you know? So
Yeah, they're like, what? They're like, what is that?
yeah.
Yeah, they recognize it's not a normal food.
Yeah.
Also, too, you know, a lot of times people, they're like, oh, I don't know what's wrong with my kid. My kid, you know, is acting up or misbehaving, and it's like, well, your kid just crushed like 4 cookies and just ate mac and cheese. Like, I would be irritable after that too. Like, I wouldn't feel great after that either. So, you know, the food is going to really play a huge role in how your kids are acting, how they feel mentally. And I've seen kids just like, it's not normal for a kid, like a young kid who's like 2 or something. Yeah, okay. But like, it's not normal for kids to have like a fucking crazy meltdown because they can't have ice cream. You know, like they shouldn't be that attached to the ice cream in the first place. And if they are, then it's going to be a tough bell to like unring, really. But you know, just kind of you know, with my kids, you know they can't have ice cream like every night. You know, just it's simple. It's like, you had it last night. Like, we're not going to have it all the time. Sometimes we'll buy it. It'll be in the house. When it's gone for a while. And then the kids are like, we don't have any ice cream. And it's like, well, it's no emergency. We're not going to run to the store and get ice cream. We're going to wait a little bit and we'll get ice cream again. That way, when you open up the freezer, you say, holy shit, there's ice cream.
Yeah.
You're excited by it still. And it's not just like part of what you do after dinner every single night. It's just, it's more sporadic than that, you know?
Yeah. How about parents with kids that are like super picky eaters? I was at Chipotle and somebody ordered a burrito bowl for their kid, which consisted of beans, rice, and cheese, and that's it. I was like, whoa, that looks dangerous. Like, that's not food. Like, that was it. And they're like, oh yeah, they're just super picky. Like, I don't know, man. I think that was more on the parent than anything.
Yeah. Some kids are really picky, you know, and that's a really hard thing to do. Some kids have conditions too. I mean, some kids are like autistic and stuff, and there's certain feels of the food, and that's got to be really hard, you know, as a parent. You know, luckily I never had to deal with anything like that. I was just talking about like the kid having a meltdown with the ice cream. Sometimes these kids that sometimes have these challenges, they're just, you know, a little different than everybody else for whatever reason. Sometimes they flip out if the food's not a certain color, doesn't have a certain texture. And what I would say to that is like, just do the best you can, right? I realize you have other battles to fight and that the days are long and that everything is really hard. But on top of your child having whatever condition that they have, it will not help their condition any further for your child to be obese. So as blunt as that might sound, it's the truth. So you still have to figure out a way. Is there any possibilities at all of this kid getting a little bit better nutrition? And also, I would say that if there is, I think there's a lot more hope for your child to be able to come out the other end and maybe be able to change some of those behaviors that they have. They might be able to come out the other end a little different because a lot of times the food is some of the precursor to that. that's a tough place to be, though. You know, when you have, I have some friends that have had really, really tough spots with that, but then they've also they continue to try different foods, and it's like like the kid will take the food and launch it across the room, you know, because the kid's frustrated. The kid wants certain food, but you just keep trying. You know, that's part of being a parent, is that it's very tiring.
Yeah.
And it wears on you, and it takes everything that you have, and it can be really frustrating. And then also as a parent, like, you know, it's scary, but it feels like you can't even really like blink, because you don't know when something shitty is going to happen to your kid, or you don't know. Like I think every parent has had like this small dose of like, holy fuck, where the fuck's my kid? Like, shit, I think I might have lost them. I don't know where they went. My son used to hide all the time in the store in between like the clothing racks, you know, but I would always see him go. I'd always pay attention to where he was. So I never had a problem with actually like losing him. And my daughter, though, like whenever we'd go to the park, she would like try to hide behind a tree, or she would do this or that. So one time I was at the park with Quinn, and then Andy came to the park too. Andy and I we were talking, and I said, hey, I'm going to go to this restaurant. I said, and a lot of times, you know, when you have a kid, it's like, it's easier if one person goes and sits down, gets a table, and maybe orders for everybody, and then you come with the kids later, because kids have like this. Kids are like a ticking time bomb. You don't know when they're going to fucking explode. So you got to order food, and you got to get the hell out of there. It's like a SWAT team mission that you're on. And so I was like, I'm going to go to this restaurant, which is just in walking distance. I'll order us all some food. I'll sit down. And then when Quinn's kind of done at the park, then you can, you know, walk her down this way. And so I get a call from Andy, and she's all frantic. She's like, is Quinn with you? And I was like, what?
Oh my gosh.
And I kind of knew immediately. I was like, oh, she's fucking hiding behind that tree. But I sprinted like, I don't know, like maybe like a quarter mile, half mile or something. I just like burst the door open of this place and just sprinted down this where this farmer's market is in Davis, and then went to the park. And I'm like, she's behind the tree, I think. And she wasn't behind the tree, but she was actually like up in the tree.
Oh my gosh, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
Man.
I like, it was weird because I knew I needed to like run towards it to try to explain where I thought she was, and I couldn't like communicate it on the phone that good because Andy didn't know what I was talking about. So I ran, but it didn't feel like I could run because I felt like I need to puke. Like I was that scared, and like this weird adrenaline dump was crazy. And then like when it got done, I was all like twitching, like I just got done doing a heavy set of deadlifts or something.
It's terrifying.
It was nuts.
Stephanie doesn't cuss. The one time she did was when we may or may not have blinked and wait, right. Where's Jett? Like, what the heck? It was at I forgot what that park's called. It's right next to the Sacramento Zoo. It's like a Funderland or something like that. I don't know. She was gonna go down this slide. Okay, cool. We're gonna go to the front and, you know, watch you come down. It's like, wait, she was in front of that kid. Like, wait, where'd she go? And then it was a total of like 10 seconds. Right. But I just remembered like that. Yeah, you do want to puke. Like, it's like, what the heck? Like,
it makes you feel sick.
Yeah, I'm like, you look for her. I'm sprinting to the front, and I'm gonna make sure no one like leaves with her at least. You know, I mean, you think the worst thoughts too. It's terrifying. And
dude, oh my god.
Yeah, it was all but 10, 15 seconds of like, where is she? And she ended up was like, I didn't want to go down that slide. I went to a different one. It's like, you can't do this. You know, like put her in like,
can't do this to us.
Yeah. She's like, what? I just wanted to go down the other one. I'm like, no.
Yo, like, I mean, obviously I don't have a kid, so when you guys were telling me all this stuff, I'm like, wow, oh my god. But then I remember like I was that kid who like I literally, that's what I did. Like I liked to like
drift.
Like I love like that. It's not even that I like to. I just would always just like I would always do that. And my mom would always like she didn't lose me, but she'd always be like, oh my god. And then she'd like, you know, right. Like I got spanked, you know. So like yeah, like oh, I was a nightmare. I didn't even think about that. I'm sorry.
My daughter looks at me like I'm crazy all the time because she's same age as his daughter, same age as Jasmine, and she just looks at me like I'm crazy because like I always tell her how much I love her, and like I'm always like, hey, give me a kiss, or like, you know, just always doing that stuff. And she's like, Dad, she's like, will you ever let up? I'm like, no. Like, no, never. You know, and then the kids are like, oh, we're going to walk the dog. I'm like, where are you going? They're like, to walk the dog. I'm like, where? They're like, we're going to the park. I'm like, which park? When are you going to be back? They're like, oh, they're like, calm down. I'm like, I didn't know where you're going.
Yeah, that's how I am with Stephanie. She's like, I'm gonna go check the mail. I'm like, wearing those shorts?
You ain't going. You ain't going nowhere.
Yeah. Why didn't you check the mail? Check for someone else to come into your life? I don't think so. But yeah, it's nerve wracking, dude. You'll find out someday.
Yeah, that's wow. Even just the idea of having to go to a restaurant beforehand to order the food because when they come, they're a little bit too wild or something like that.
Yeah.
Like what?
Yeah.
Well, and one parent has to be ready to like figure out a way to like fix the situation too. So like if one kid's screaming their head off, like the kids are really little, then one parent just needs to take the kid outside. I hate going. Now look, if you're at a restaurant that caters to families, then that's fine. Then you're gonna have some screaming kids. Like that's just the way it is. But if you're trying to go somewhere a little nicer and enjoy yourself, then you can't have your kid like spoil dinner for everybody else. So I'd always take like Jake or Quinn or whatever. I'd take them out, or even my nephews. I never minded like leaving the dinner table for a few minutes and just going outside for a walk. It cures them every time. They're totally fine. They just need to be distracted.
Mm-hmm.
They just can't sit there that long. Like a dinner a lot of times takes like an hour.
Wow.
That's forever for a kid. Remember being a kid?
Yeah.
Remember when you were a kid and you're like, man, adults suck. They do nothing for so long.
Boring.
Oh,
I'm bored.
And then they eat dinner and then they like drink coffee after dinner and they're just sitting there laughing, telling the stories. Yeah. Like, I just want to play video games.
I want to go home and play Sega.
Yeah, come on.
That's all I did is play Sega and eat corn dogs.
Yeah. No, I played a lot of games too.
I used to get caught up with my mom all the time shopping when I was a kid. She'd be like, I just need to run into the store real quick. And I'd be like, oh, my God. She was in there for
That takes me back, bro. Oh,
for
God.
hours. And so then she had to bribe me, though. So like, Mom, I'm not doing this anymore. And she had to bribe me and like try to get me something from her.
It's a little bit different now that Jasmine's older. But like I remember when she was younger, it's just a game of what can we do to get her so tired that she goes to sleep. That's all you're doing. You're just exchanging some form of time to make her lose energy.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, it hit me one day. I'm like, damn, that's all we do is we just try to get her to the next nap.
Yeah.
My dad my dad really likes real estate a lot. And so, and when I was a kid, he had a tax practice and a real estate business as well. And so I remember like after church or something, I'm like, okay, like I did all the shit they asked me to do for the day. And now I get to go home and have some fun, like play some games and like invite my friends over. And then they would be like, they're like, after church, we're going to go look at some houses. I was like, oh shit. It would just kill me. It wouldn't take that long probably.
Yeah.
But like my dad would he wouldn't even do anything. He would just drive by 2 or 3 houses and then we'd go home. It wasn't like a big deal.
Uh-huh.
Or then like to even like make the trip more agonizing, my mom would be like, I got to run into the store real quick. I'm like, oh, getting killed, getting crushed here. I feel like,
oh, God.
Like you're just on this, it's like you got kidnapped by your own parents almost.
Yeah.
You're like, I got to do all this shit that they want to do and I don't get to do anything that I want to do.
Yeah. And then obviously my mom, she was like a single parent. So her place was Ross. She'd go to Ross a lot. And I'd have to like, and I feel like she was in there for hours. But now since kids' time,
right?
Like they don't know. I don't know. Maybe it was only like 30 minutes, but I hated that. Absolutely hated that.
And she's probably like, and to make it even funnier, she's probably buying clothes for you. You know what I mean? I hate when you buy me stuff. I hate when you provide for me like you're supposed to.
Yeah, man.
This is driving me crazy.
Yeah, now that I think about it too, like, I mean, I played all these sports as a kid, but it was probably just to tire me out. Like, even looking back on it, she was probably trying to tire me out because I had hella energy. So she's probably like, get this kid in soccer so he can go to sleep and I can get my rest. Wow.
I thought she was so loving because she like took you to like lift weights and encouraged you to play soccer and all these things.
Yeah.
And now you know this. Now you know the truth.
I know the truth.
She's just trying to wear you out.
Oh man, it's crazy.
I still need to meet your mom.
Yeah, you will one day.
Bring your mom to work day.
You should do that. Yeah, that'd be good. She'd enjoy it.
I need to have some of that soup.
Oh yeah, no, she makes a lot. Ooh, and she makes really good pepper soup. So she makes some good goat pepper soup. Oh, it's to die for. Whew.
You've had my mom's tamales.
Oh, yeah, those were really good. Yeah, that was a long time ago.
That was a long time ago. She needs to make some more.
Yeah.
I like Andrew gave them to me, and then I had to like call him. I think I'm like, what do I do with these? I
Wait,
think
were they already just made? Like
I
you could
think
just
they
stick them
were.
in your mouth?
I think they were cooked, but you just said just to heat them up.
Yeah,
right?
just said to throw them in the microwave.
I
You're
was
good
like,
to go.
I was like, what do I need to do with these? Because I brought them home, and Andy's like, I was like, I don't know what to do with these. I was like, I figured you would know. She's like, I don't know.
But they loved them, right?
Oh, they were
It
awesome.
was so good. And then I
Yeah.
think the last time I brought them in, you were on some diet,
Some stupid diet.
some
probably.
stupid diet. And I was like, my bad, dude. I brought some more of my mom's tamales. And you're like, you have them here? I was like, yeah. Right now? Yeah. Just bring them to me.
Yeah, fuck it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, dude, mom's cooking though.
Yeah. How do you guys feel about like getting kids in sports super early? You think like everyone should try? I know everyone has a different capacity with how much time they have and work and all of that, but do you think it's something like every parent should just try and do?
I think all kids should attempt some sports. The hard thing is to know, once you have your kids kind of try something, the hard thing is to know whether they like it for themselves or whether they like it for you. I used to kind of think like, oh, it's kind of shitty if they like it for the parent and they're trying to be like a mini me. But now I have a different stance on it. Now I don't think that's negative. I think that's fine. Like even somebody that brings their kid to the gym and the kid wants to kind of try to lift and the kid even at like 8 or 9 years old is, starts to actually like lift and do some of the stuff. I think it's fine. I think it's actually healthy. It's like whatever way you can get your kid involved in something. And even if the kid is, hopefully the parent isn't a maniac, to make the kid, feel like shit if he strikes out or something. But hopefully the parent has a realistic, respect for the kid playing the sport themselves rather than them trying to like live through the kid. That's not great. But I do think I think it's healthy. I think, whatever way you get these kids to participate and to play a sport, I think is good. They learn competition. They learn what it's like to be on a team.
Yeah.
They just learn a lot of things. I'm not really sure how else you would learn these things or where else you would get them from.
Yeah, I think if they show interest in anything, like make it a big deal, like make it fun, make them understand that you're like super excited for them. That's what we did with Jasmine in dance school. Like we walked by it one day and she kind of was like, oh, okay. I'm like, let's go check it out right now. Like we stopped everything we were doing and we ran right in and signed her up and she's been loving it since.
Sick.
Yeah.
And usually whatever your kid likes, you start getting way into it anyway.
Yeah.
You're like, this is cool. This is fun,
Yeah. Yeah. So then like instantly, like it was like, oh, well, what kind of shoes do you need? Like what kind of like, and then when we see anything that resembles any type of like dance apparel or it says dance, it's like, oh, we're getting that. And yeah, it just becomes fun. It's exactly what Mark just said. Like you start to get into it.
Yeah.
I love the fact that in sports it's just very black and white on like who's better and who's not. And yes, it can make you feel crappy about yourself sometimes. But I also think that you like a lot of times in today's society, people like they won't allow for that to happen because they're trying to like make everything so, like make everything so equal all the time. And it's like, no, like the guy who got up to bat before me, who just hit the ball over the fence, is clearly fucking better than me. Like I just struck out 3 times in a row. But I think that's okay realization. Like Bob, who got up at bat before you that slugged the home run, he's better at baseball. So fucking what? A big deal. He's good at baseball. Maybe you got to find your thing. And so maybe maybe you take that as a negative and you're like, I'll never play baseball again, but maybe that leads you to try something else. Or maybe you're just like, you know what? He's just a little older than me. He's just a little taller than me. And if I practice, I bet I can knock that ball further than he did.
Yeah.
I like that part of it. I like that part of it. Like, where else are you going to learn that from?
Yeah, I think teaching kids how to, not how to, but teaching kids what it feels like to lose is super important because then you get the kids that I'm not even trying, so I don't care. Like they give up before they even like get close to losing. And
I, we've talked about video games on this show before. I'm all for video games. I think it's great. It's like they're a lot of fun, but you can't really learn that kind of stuff through a video game. Now you might learn that like someone's better at like World of Warcraft than you, but like that's different. Like physical prowess is a thing. Like your stature, the way that you look, like just think about it. Like if the Rock walked into like just about any room, even without him being the Rock, everyone would just turn their head
Mm-hmm.
because he's fucking huge and he's jacked and he's a good-looking guy, right? So everyone's boom, they turn their head. Now, if somebody that looked the exact same as The Rock, exact same looks, who's 5'7" and not in nearly as good a shape, no one would look.
Mhm.
No one would even look twice. Like, that's the world that we're in. Like, people, they recognize these things. There's certain things that give you a better status. They give you better leverage over everybody else in society. And I think the quicker that you learn that and the quicker you find that out, the quicker that you can be on your way to finding your own spot.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, the ability to like losing as a kid, like you were mentioning.
Mhm.
Oh man, that's huge. Like being able to like lose and then being taught how to handle loss, being taught that like it's not permanent, right? It's and that you can practice and get better so that you don't have to like feel that as often, although you will feel that, you know. And I'm not going to name any names or anything, but I've dealt with people that maybe they didn't play sports as a kid, or maybe they did a show or something and they didn't do well and they literally couldn't handle that. They couldn't handle that loss because they haven't done that athletically before, right? So that's huge. Just know that you can just get better through practice, but you're gonna lose.
Yeah. Mark, you just mentioned video games. What's your take on esports? Because what is it? Fortnite player,
$3 million.
$3 million.
$3 million at 16.
I'll just say that definitely the exception.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm gonna let you.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I think a lot of people my age and a lot of parents are like scared of like social media, and they're scared to hear things like that because then their child or whatever is thinking of that. I think it's all fine. It's all okay because look, my idol is right here on the table, Bo Jackson, right? Like I thought I was going to be like Bo Jackson. I'm obviously nothing like Bo Jackson, but that was a healthy dream for me to hold on to. I still lift weights. I still want to be athletic. I still want to be physical. I'm still trying to always make myself better, not just from a physical standpoint, but from a mental standpoint as well. And I think that, you know, having kids, you know, think about how they can monetize social media, I don't think is necessarily a negative thing. I just think, you know, everything just needs some sort of like regulation of some sort. You just can't, you know, it's probably not great to play video games nonstop all day. However, the kid that won the $3 million probably kind of did.
He plays 8 hours a day.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, but I wonder what, like, statistically the odds of, let's just say, I don't know, making $100,000 a year playing video games versus like making the league minimum in the NBA.
Yeah.
Like, how many people are playing video games
Right.
versus how many people are playing basketball? You know,
so
like,
many more people are making way more money playing video games nowadays because of like YouTube and all, like Twitch. Like those streamers, even streamers that don't have a crazy amount of followers, make a living playing video games. So, you know, it's actually a legit viable option if you can entertain people and you're kind of good.
yeah,
Well, even just take video games out of it for a second. There's probably more, and I don't even know what the stat is for right now. Maybe you can try to look it up. But there's got to be more millionaires in the United States right now than ever before.
Yeah.
And I would say it's probably double of what it was in, like, say, 2010. Maybe it's even tripled. I don't even know. But I think it's okay to have a kid who kind of thinks, like, I'm going to be an influencer one day. Like, sounds weird, sounds bizarre, but that's okay. So did making $3 million off a video game. That sounded weird a while ago until somebody did it.
Yeah.
Now somebody did it, right? And so kids growing up now, like a kid, you know, 5 years ago saying he was going to, you know, be the next CrossFit Games champion sounded weird. But now you're starting to kind of see a lot of kids are in CrossFit. Like having a car, you know, pick you up from some random person, you know, that, you know, doesn't even necessarily work for a company. They get a thing, they have the same app as you, and then they hop in the car and then they go pick you up, and that's Uber. Like, that's weird. Like, all this stuff's weird. And I think, like, Gary Vee kind of hits the nail on the head with a lot of this stuff when he is talking about, like, kind of just what's going on in today's world. I think we're better off just embracing it. And I think even, like, going to college, a lot of times people talk about going to college as, like, a reference point for some, you know, later on getting, like, a job, right? And then you get a job coming out of college. You're kind of hoping that with the college and the job that you secured is more of like a career job and that you make more money. Well, what if you can fucking bypass all that just by playing video games? it's not a bad gig, right?
Right,
It's not a
yeah.
bad deal. If you can bypass it just through being valuable on social media, being able to, provide some value on social media or play video games or whatever, it's like, I don't see any problem. It's not any different than a kid, than Kobe Bryant, going right to the NBA. Like, there should be no discussion. There's absolutely no reason for him to go to college. And now they make a lot of the players still go to college, but I don't think there's any reason for it.
I think, but Nsima had mentioned, like, if you can be entertaining on Twitch and stuff, it's like, can you become like a charismatic person and entertaining while locking yourself up in the basement for 10 hours a day? Like, like you got to eventually get out. And then to answer your question, Mark, there's more millionaires in the United States than there are people in Greece.
Wow.
Let's see, within the past year,
I'll say 40 million.
I
doesn't
haven't
say.
even no because within the past year there's been more than 250,000 newly minted millionaires within the last year.
How many?
250,000.
Right.
That's insane.
Right. There's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot of millionaires.
Yeah, and it, guess depends on what you call a millionaire too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Then there's like the 3% that are like have more than $1 million in
Right.
like assets.
Right.
So, but still, yeah,
Right.
you're right. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, it's just the world that we're in.
Yeah.
It's the way,
You brought up something else too. You said social media. So kids and social media.
right.
I am terrified of it. Jasmine wants an Instagram account, and I'm like, no, you can't have it. Why not? Because I said so. Like, I don't have an actual good response right now.
I think the hard thing, so for me, my stance on that, and I probably need to like re-up my conversation with my kids again, but like my conversation with my children was, I didn't want them communicating with anybody that they didn't know. I didn't want them to communicate with anybody that they didn't know. So I don't want them to, and that's just because they're kids, and that's just because like that's the way I want it to be for now. Jake's getting older; he's 15, and Quinn is 11. Maybe some of that will change. Like, it's a hard thing because, like they play video games and they do a lot of other stuff where you kind of forget, like, oh, it's all social media. Like, nothing is like an isolated thing anymore. I remember Andy years ago, I think, got Jake an iPod, and the iPod had like texting and everything on it, and like she didn't know, and I was like, no, I was like, that has fucking everything on it that a phone does basically, and so we had to disable that or whatever because he was like 10 or whatever.
Yeah, the iPod Touch, I think.
And so yeah, I mean, it's just you're trying to figure out a way to protect your kids from certain things, from certain stupid things happening that you would otherwise you'd rather just avoid them, But yeah, that's kind of been the rule for us. It's like, I don't really want you interacting with people that you don't know. And then they're like, oh, we could make a private account. I'm like, I don't know.
No.
Yeah. It is really crazy though, because like as adults, like when social
Having
media
said that,
came
they
out,
both probably have it.
Yeah. No, like as adults, like all these things, like Instagram and all of this, and then we find out how bad it can be for your mental health over time. And now we have to make the adjustments. So then kids have to make the adjustments. And even like the things like the light on your phone screen, just figuring out how bad that can be for like your sleep and stuff, right? So now kids have to make those adjustments. So it's crazy. Like Mark said, we're just going to have to evolve over time, learn how to put this within our lives, but also make sure that it doesn't impede everything else that we're doing.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah, I'm real nervous about social media with Jazz. She's super gullible. 2, she's extremely cute. So like you think of the worst of the worst. And then, like cyberbullying, like that would suck if she had to come home and, look on her phone and it's like, oh, all the, assholes at school, they're there on her phone again.
Yeah.
Like that's my biggest fear right there too.
Yeah. No,
So it's frustrating.
Shoot. Like when I have a kid, I'm not going to let them, at least I don't think I'm going to let them have an Instagram until they're like, maybe, I don't know. Like if the Instagram is still a thing, to like late teens or mid teens, like
It's
you
gonna
don't
be
need that.
embedded in their head by the time you have a kid.
The neural link.
Ding.
Hey, you heard about that, right?
Yeah.
God.
What are you talking about?
Elon Musk, he had a keynote like 4 weeks ago about something called Neuralink. It's a chip that you can put in your brain to have you interface with certain things a little bit better.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
You implant it into your brain, Wow. Yeah, like that's here. It's here. Skynet is here.
For real.
It's getting fully realized.
Mm-hmm.
Can we implant something into our head that makes us think that we're eating peanut butter cups all day?
Shoot. So, they'll probably find a part in your brain where you could put it. And yeah, like when you have a feeling that you want to eat something, click the button, you get that dopamine hit. You're like, okay, I'm not hungry for
And
that
you're good.
anymore. And you're good.
They do have a lollipop that's like that.
I was just going to say,
It's just called a lollipop, but it's not really like a lollipop. But it's like an electronic thing that they've been running a lot of tests on. And I think they can make it taste like just about whatever you want. They could have it hit your taste buds in such a way that, you could be like, oh my God, it tastes pizza.
Wait, do you need to like buy the pizza flavor or you can change
it's like a computer.
This is like a computer thing that they're testing that it's not like available to anybody or anything like that right now.
Oh my God.
But it's shit that they're testing.
I'd imagine like like when I can't remember what it was on, but like somebody would to lose weight, they would like eat food, chew on it, and then spit it out, and that messes you up pretty bad, right?
Oh, that's not good. That's
Yeah,
anorexia.
Yeah, but like because your like salivary glands go
Right.
nuts,
Oh,
and
okay.
and then your stomach starts building acid to build.
Yeah, and then you don't actually get it. Yeah.
So I'd imagine that lollipop thing might jack people up the same way.
Amen. The things that work now might be the things that are jacking us up 3 years
Hey,
from now.
how are people going to use that technology?
Porn.
Porn. Everything turns to porn.
Oh my God.
Strength is never a weakness. Weakness is never a strength. Catch you guys later.